Hi there. My name is Jonathan Owens. I'm the pastor here at Bozeman Christian Reformed Church. And for the past several weeks, we've been learning about different spiritual disciplines or practices or skills that help us to draw closer to God and closer to each other. This past week, we had our first fully remote service where I talked about the spiritual discipline of meditation and how that helps us to find calm in all of the chaos and busyness that's around us. Particularly right now, as we're all in isolation from the coronavirus traveling around our neighborhoods and our cities and our towns, being able to center oneself, find a point of calm, draw closer to God, and bring that stillness to the people around us is actually really important. And so the spiritual discipline that we're going to work on today is called centering prayer. It's technically not even a prayer, but it's a skill or a tool that helps us to draw closer to God. When we think about spiritual disciplines, we often think about three different ideas that they try to accomplish. Frequently, spiritual disciplines can help us get solitude, or stillness, or silence. But centering prayer is one of those disciplines that brings all three of those together. Now, the concept behind this is that Jesus Christ dwells in all of us. The Holy Spirit has been sent to earth to dwell in everyone. But the problem is, our lives are so busy and there's so much going on, it's hard to experience the presence of the Holy Spirit, the presence of Jesus Christ in our day-to-day lives. And that's where the discipline of centering prayer comes from. And to do it, it's one of those things that's actually really simple, but takes a lot of practice to get good at. That said, I don't want to discourage you from it. The more that you get into it, the more this becomes something that is a daily or a weekly habit for you, the easier it gets, and the more you will be able to find those places of calm in your everyday life. So, to start out in this discipline, it helps to find some place that is quiet, some place where you will be left alone, some place where you can comfortably sit still for a long time. For some people, this is going to involve leaving your house, maybe sitting out in your car, finding a closet in your house that you can tuck away in for a little while. This is something that is very accessible to do outdoors, say when you're on a hike somewhere. But whatever you do, you want to find a place that's quiet. The next step, after you found some place that is quiet, is the actual point of centering prayer. And that's where we take ourselves, we find a comfortable position, and we're going to shut our eyes, breathe deep, and we're going to try to still all the noise that's in our mind. Now, with centering prayer, one of the things you have to realize is that we're not trying to turn our minds off. We're trying to keep our mind engaged. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to engage all of the thoughts that are swirling around us, all the stuff that we have to do, all the things that we're worried about. Instead, we want to pick a phrase or a word, some people call this a sacred word, that helps us return to the idea of keeping our minds nice and still. So a lot of people pick the phrase, be still, or be still and know. You can pick an attribute of God like peace or love. And what you do is when you start your centering prayer and you get relaxed and calm, you say that to yourself, peace. And you use that to help separate you from all those thoughts going on around. And as you start to get distracted, as you start to think about everything that's happening or sounds that you hear, use that word or that phrase to call you back to what you're doing. Be still. Now, I have a friend who tries to put the practice this way. He says it's like sitting at the bottom of a river, and above you are floating all these boats. Those are your ideas. And it's okay to watch them pass by, but you don't want to get onto one of those boats and travel with it. And so if this big boat comes, just look at it and wave it on its way and come back to where you are. So with that, I'm going to invite you to join me on a short practice of this. Are you ready? Okay, we're going to sit still, find a comfortable position that you can be in for a long time. I'm only going to pause for a minute, but you can pause this video in between if you're using it as a guide. And what we're going to do is we're going to relax, take a deep breath, calm down, focus on that word or that phrase, and we'll have a beautiful sound to bring us in. We'll have that same beautiful sound to bring us out. Now, when that rings on the way out, don't just snap to attention, but let yourself gradually come out of your stillness. This is especially important if you have been sitting still for 20 or 30 minutes, which is really the ideal length of a centering prayer, because it takes about 20 minutes for our minds to slow down and let us concentrate. So, why don't you join with me? All right, so get into a comfortable position. Get those kinks worked out. And then just sit nice and still. There, how is that? Now, I said beforehand that when you get into this practice, one of the things that you're going to want to do is build up time. A lot of people start with 3 or 5 minutes of centering prayer, but the goal that you want to get to is about 20 minutes. As such, this activity takes around 30 minutes, so plan accordingly. But when you find that you can sit still for 20 minutes with practice, what this is going to reward you with Is it when you're making dinner, or you're standing in line at the grocery store, or you're waiting for something, or your friends or your kids or a test is driving you crazy? You're going to be able to just sit back, close your eyes, and just center and draw closer to God and be in a place where it's easier to hear that still small voice. I hope this was useful to you. In the description below, I'm going to put a couple of links to things that explain this a little bit further. But again, I hope that this was a useful exercise for you, that this explanation of it made sense. And it's my prayer that this becomes a tool that you can make regular use of to enhance your walk with God as we draw closer to God, closer to each other, and ultimately more like Jesus Christ.